Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to speak about a topic that has come up in my DMs many times. It applies not just to relationships where it's like boyfriend, girlfriend or couples, but it could also apply to your friendships or a job or like the relationship you have with your boss, like your professional relationship. And although you might think that every situation is different, when it comes to rejection or when it comes to loss, the things that we feel as people is usually kind of along the same lines. But it's just for everybody, it's a different length of time. So the first thing is to accept it. The sooner you start accepting it, the sooner you start your healing process. But if you don't accept that breakup, then you're holding on to hope and you're not actually moving on or healing. What you're doing is, whether you're going out, getting dressed up, posting it on your social media, you're not doing it for yourself, you're doing it for that person. You want them to see it, you want them to know that you're having a good time. And you're not actually having a good time because you're too concerned thinking about what they think of you. Accept that it is over. And the second you accept that it's over, then that's when you start doing things for yourself and you start concentrating on how you feel, what you think, rather than the other person. The second most important thing would be is to cut contact. Be it social media, Snapchat, text, WhatsApp, whatever. If you need to block that person,
blocka Facebook, blocka WhatsApp, blocka telefonet, blocka Instagram, blocka, alltså block.
It doesn't make you look weaker, it doesn't make you look like you're bothered. You're doing what you're doing for yourself and for your healing. So it's not your concern what they think of you. You need to block that person, you need to cut them out of your life, you don't need to check on anything. You can't move on if you're constantly looking at what they're doing, because again, you're putting your energy and happiness in someone else's hands. And it isn't. It's down to you to make yourself happy. If you're not good enough for them to be around you, or they're choosing not to be around you, or they mistreated you when they had the luxury of having your company, then they don't need to see you thriving and doing well and moving on or living your life, because they lost the right of being in your company or knowing what you're doing. So it works both ways. Same way you don't need to know what they're doing, they don't need to know what you're doing. It's never going to be easy and it's never going to happen overnight. You've got to understand that you have to feel certain things to get over them. You have to face them. If you don't face them and deal with them, you're bottling that up and you are holding on to that resent. And what will happen is the next time you meet someone or next time you want to get into a relationship, that resent comes out and that bitterness and that negativity, that energy. So all you're doing is self-sabotaging for in the long run. You will just carry that hate or that anger or that hurt, and you would take that out on your partner. You would project that onto them, and therefore, if nothing changes, nothing changes. I've said this so many times, you're going to get the same results of your next relationship. So you've got to heal. You will have days that you will do great, you wouldn't care, you would think you're on top of the world, you didn't need that person, so you'll be having a good time and moving on and surrounding yourself with friends and going out. But there will be times that you can't get yourself out of bed and you feel like your whole world came shattering down again and you're feeling all the pain all over again. A song may remind you of the person, a place, a food, and that's it. You're back to square one. But you're actually not. Every day is a new day and it's a new challenge. And if you feel good 3 days in a row and you have a bad day, you just have to remind yourself that, well, I did okay for the past 3 days, so I just have to get through today. And when you get through that bad day, when you wake up, you could literally reward yourself for being strong and not reaching out and not breaking your no contact rule. When you start your healing process, you're going to go through the motions, and the motions vary from anger to sadness to hurt to resent to indifferent, and for everybody it's a different cycle, and for everybody's going to feel different things at different times. When it's the anger phase, you start blaming them for what they've done to you or how they treated you or how they've left you or how they made you leave them, or if you've been in the wrong, it's like, well, I did it because they provoked me. It was a reaction to what they did, and therefore you start finding the blame. And then when you move on from the anger period and the sadness comes in and the emotional comes in, you start then self-blaming. have I done enough? Could I have fixed it? Could I have done better? I'm not good enough. There's something wrong with me. Nobody's going to make me feel like that again. I'm never going to feel like that again. But all those things everybody feels. And you have to understand that it's just emotions. There's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with the other person. The whole point of dating, you just have to look at it as, this is happening to me because yet again I'm finding out what's not okay with me and what I dislike, and I'm getting one step closer to finding the person that is compatible with me, that is right for me. And that's essentially what relationships and dating is, until you find a partner that you want to spend your life with. So if that's the case, same with friendships. If someone is your friend and you feel that you have a breakup, a friendship breakup is actually a lot more painful because the betrayal is that much more deeper. They're the people that pick you up when you have an issue with your relationship. So if those people are the ones that have let you down, then who's going to pick you up? Who's going to pick up the pieces? And it's very hurtful. So when it comes to friendship breakups, it's the same thing. The same rule applies, where it's the blame game. They did this, I did that, and you're just going through the motions. But at the end of the day, when you look back at things and you have a little bit of hindsight, you understand that there were signs all along in the friendship or in the relationship that didn't sit right with you. And in your gut, you really felt it, and you knew that something wasn't right because you didn't feel at ease. You felt on edge. And you knew that. And when it fell apart, most times those are the reasons that it does fall apart. The things that get flagged up in your mind at the start are the same reasons that will be the reasons that you will end up walking away from it. It's always the case. Your intuition, your gut, your energy knows these things, but it takes your mind and your heart and your head a little while to catch up and realize and see it, what was all in front of you all along. So the minute that realization hits and you understand, there is no blame. Of course, people do wrong, but it's not going to help you holding on to that resent either and constantly saying, well, victimizing yourself again and thinking that I feel like this because that person put me through it, or I'm bitter because that person put. No, that's your responsibility. If you're bitter, it's how you're dealing with the situation, and you need to learn to deal with it in a different way so that you're not bitter, you're not holding on to this negative energy. The important thing would be to see the bigger picture and understand that it was just not right, and you knew it all along, and it was inevitable that this was going to happen. So this is a part of your journey and you're just moving on with it. And what happens is that once things fall apart, you always hold on to the best memories. You always think back and think how amazing things were, or how great this girl was or this guy was. Like, I was having so much fun with that person and I'm never going to feel like that again. But you forget the ending, where it's turned bitter, or it's turned really negative, or you guys are fighting, you're not feeling good, it's physically affecting you, mentally affecting you. You forget those things. As humans, we tend to hold on to the happier memories. So you need to, whenever you feel like that, you also need to bring yourself back to the present moment and see where things were the week before you broke it off, the week before they walked away or you walked away. How was it then? Not the beginning, because that person is, as you've changed throughout the relationship, so has your partner. Therefore, they're not who they were at the start, and nor are you. So don't hold on to the past. See what that present, like your immediate past was or your present is, and balance it out and see the pros and cons. And it's important to also, if you have friends that you trust and you feel comfortable with, talk to your friends. It really does. You listen to advice, you open yourself up, because when you're so emotionally involved in a situation, you don't think with your head, you think with your emotions and your heart, and you don't see logic. Things that could be very plain and simple, and you would see it if it was a friend of yours. When it comes to yourself, it's really hard to see that. So sometimes you need your friends to put things into perspective with you, for you. And if you trust them enough and you have that relationship with them, then you know that this is coming from a place of, like, they care for you and they're looking out for you. And also, if you feel the time to be alone and feel the pain and crying is not a sign of weakness. It's just letting go of all the emotion that you've bottled up for the duration of the relationship or the duration of your healing process. And it's okay to cry and let it go. You sometimes need that to then move on, because you're facing what you're fearful of. At the beginning, when you count the days of how many days you haven't been in touch, as time goes by, you start not counting the days anymore, because you start not caring. And always remind yourself, when you're feeling at your lowest, just think, okay, in 6 months' time, I'm going to look back to now and see how far I've come. And I'll see how much I've healed and how I don't care about it as much. But when you're going through it, it's really hard to see it like that. You think, I'm never going to feel better again. I'm never going to meet someone that will treat me like that, or I would feel so comfortable with. And my world has fallen apart. But like I said before, your happiness, you should never depend your happiness and your mood and your emotions on someone else to that extent that when they walk away from you or they leave you, you are no longer you. So take this healing time to find yourself again. Because most times in relationships, you become half of something, so you kind of lose yourself to an extent. So try and find back who you were. And if you think back to the person you were before this relationship, you were living, you were loving life, you were breathing, you were having fun, you were a whole person, you were you. And remember that that's who you are, and that's who you need to get back to. So use this time, deal with the emotions, go through the motions, go through the stages of sadness and anger and hurt, but then embrace them. Look back and see what you learned from that relationship, what things you like and dislike from that, what you would like to take further. And the next time you meet someone, you are a lot more knowledgeable in yourself because you know what you've dealt with and you've come out of it stronger. And you're also a lot more knowledgeable of things you want and don't want in a partner. So then when you see the signs from the start, you save yourself a lot of heartache and headache because you see, okay, I've seen this before. I know how this ends up. Like, personality traits are there, or I'm seeing things that I don't like, I'm seeing red flags, and I know how that worked out for me last time, so therefore I'm going to take notice of it this time around. I'm not going to make the same mistakes. So that's when you start really moving on and feeling good about yourself and getting back to your old self. So the only things you need is oxygen, sleep, water, and food. That's what you need. You don't need another human being. You want them, and you want the idea of them, because when you think of the bad times, it was not them you miss the intimacy and the companionship, and is the idea that you've built in your own head. So bring yourself to reality, remind yourself constantly of how far you've come, how many days you've gone without contacting them, and also not just look at the good and remember the good, but remember the bad as well, and look at how you're feeling right now may be very broken, but you're not as on edge as you used to be. Breakups and losses are never easy, be it from a partner or a friend or even a job, like a professional relationship. But if you confident enough in yourself to not self-doubt that this breakup isn't make all and end all of you, if you understand that the emotions that you're feeling, everybody who goes through this feels the same sort of thing at one point or another, and if you just understand that time is a healer, and when you give yourself time and you heal yourself, you will not carry that baggage and that bitterness into your future relationships or future job. Therefore, you're not sabotaging yourself or your chances of real, happy, authentic happiness. I hope you guys enjoyed it. This is a topic that's been very popular with my followers, so I hope that I covered all the points. If you have anything else that you want to add of your own, please do so in the comments below, and I look forward to seeing you guys again here soon. Mwah.